welcome to another episode of the HaskinCast Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, here with a fantastic young filmmaker, songwriter. See, I told you it was going to happen. It does it all the time. But that's okay. We're just going to roll with it. I'm really excited to have her on the show. Her new singles just come out. She's got a couple others out there to check out, and we'll be listening to clips of all three songs throughout the show. Let's welcome her to the show, guys. Saylor, Valin. Saylor, how are you?
Hey, Scott. I'm doing amazing. Thanks for having me here.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for bearing with me through the technical issues. I'm glad we got everything resolved, and now we're just rolling and going to talk about your music.
Awesome.
So I don't want to say where did you get the inspiration, because I think everybody feels music really passionately. But what made you turn that into just being someone who loves music into someone who wants to create music?
Oh, wow. I started listening to music when I was very young. My parents introduced me to music when I was a baby. Mm-hmm. I listened to Elvis and everything from the 50s to now.
Wow.
Then growing up, I started taking, some singing lessons when I was in first grade, but I really started to get more involved in music when I was in fourth grade. I found an amazing music teacher who I'm still with today.
Good.
And she really helped me learn how to truly sing and find my voice. And ever since, I've been doing it. And I think with writing my music, I started when I was about 11 years old.
Wow.
Maybe around there. I just wrote, little lyrics here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad actually gave me a notebook. He was like, "You're going to have this notebook that's only for songwriting." And it just says songwriting on it.
Good idea.
And then when I had that notebook, when things just pop in my brain, I just write it. And yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, I usually tell authors and I tell songwriters if they're working on a concept album or something that needs to be really cohesive, but more to authors, when you're working on your ideas, keep them all in one place, because you don't want to sit down and say, okay, it's time to organize all this. No, where did I put this note? Where did this thing go? And I know I wanted to do something, but I can't remember what it was. And if it's all in one place, it's all together and it can all be organized very easily after that. So that was a really good idea.
Yeah, I love it. I have a second one now that I just started. So it's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And of course, I know your dad because I was in a band with your dad many years ago back in Colorado, doing very progressive, I think we were titled progressive metal music. But I love that your roots go back to really the beginning. I mean, Elvis is a pretty good place to start, where you get that blues, but you get the emotion. And the songwriting construction was really simple but effective. And then, now it's just crazy, all the different textures and things that you can put into songs. Do you find that it's hard to stop adding stuff when you're writing? What if I did this? And what if I added that? Or are you pretty much I think this is good, the song's done?
Oh, yeah, that can be a hit or miss. There's some songs where I write everything and I am very complex about my lyrics and the form of the song. Mm-hmm. And then there's some songs where it's just guitar and me singing. And that's my main one that I love to do is guitar and singing. But yeah, it just depends on the just what comes to me at the time of writing.
I tend to find that I overwrite a lot of times and I have to take things out. And sometimes it's really tough to make those decisions. I really love that sound, but I just have too many things going on in the song. It's not easy to follow. It's too distracting or whatever. And I find it hard to make those decisions sometimes to really get outside of myself as a songwriter and be a producer and look at it from that perspective. Do you find it easy to kind of edit yourself?
Oh, man, that is a difficult question. Again, it depends on the song. And yes, I totally agree with you. You have all these ideas and you want to put them all in one song. But then when you step back and really look at it, you're like, oh, does that really sound good? But yeah, I just save it. I'm like, okay, I like that sound. Save it for another, project in the future.
There you go. And I will say your music has a lot to it. There's a lot of layers, but not to the point where there's too many threads to follow. You have to sacrifice one thing for another. I think it's all encapsulated in a way where you can enjoy it in one sitting without having to be like, okay, I need to go back and pick out what this was doing or what that was doing. It's layered but not too busy, which is really the right balance.
Thank you. Yeah. When I wrote my newest song, I did it with a group way back in 2018 at Grammy Museum.
Mhm.
And we only had like a week to write something and then perform it at the end. And at first we started with guitar, like
Mhm.
guitar and vocals, that was it. And then they were like, "Oh, we have a band for you guys." So there was drums, bass, piano even. And they just kind of went along with what we had. We had a lead sheet and our lyrics, and that was it. And then
Wow.
in that song.
And you
Yeah.
performed it somewhere?
Yeah, we performed at Grammy Museum.
Wow. Was that intimidating? That's a pretty cool venue.
Oh my God, it was incredible to see. I mean, just so beautiful, and it was really fun. Definitely.
How do you feel when you're getting ready to take the stage? Do you have that kind of mixture of nervousness and excitement, or are you just like, all right, let's go do this?
A mixture of everything. Mainly, I get truly nervous, even though I've been performing on stage for years.
Mhm.
But it's like, yeah, it's mainly excitement of like I'm actually gonna perform and I'm gonna have fun, and I hope the audience enjoys it as well.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's you definitely get a charge from the audience when you see their smiling faces or maybe they're clapping their hands, tapping their foot, just kind of moving around to the beat of what you're doing. There's nothing like that charge that you get from seeing people enjoying what you're doing.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
love it. I want to do it for the rest of my life.
I hope that you get to because it's really an amazing thing to be a performer. And I look at like artists, the bigger artists today, like Taylor Swift or Sabrina Carpenter, and I'm looking at the crowds that they're playing in front of, and I'm like, that is just insane to go out there and play in front of 50,000 people, and you're
Right.
really a solo artist with a backing band.
Exactly. And honestly, that's my dream one day to do. I mean, just to see the faces of the fans out there and people really truly enjoying your craft that you
Mhm.
created. I
Yeah.
mean, real.
Well, when you're playing an auditorium, you can usually see maybe the first 15 to 20 rows, and after that, the lights blur out everything else. But when you're looking on those stages, I mean, they're really large stages. They're very mobile, so they're moving from one end to the other. So I kind of feel like they get a pretty good feeling for the depth of how big their crowd is when they're out there.
Definitely. And I can't imagine how excited they are to see everyone out there.
Yeah. Now, are you somebody who likes choreography, or do you really just like to focus on the music and just be the performer versus somebody who wants to put on, say, a spectacle or a show?
Actually, like I actually dance or I used to dance when I was younger and
Mhm.
I love dancing. So if I could do some choreography while I sing, I mean, that would be amazing too.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's interesting because it's that's a whole different level of creativity. You're using what you feel in the music, but now you're interpreting it through your body instead of notes, but you're also doing the notes at the same time. So finding something that works with all three together, that must be quite a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done much choreography to my own song, but I've had ideas.
Yeah.
And it can be challenging at times, but also just really fun to get into that more creative zone with your body and the music.
Now, are you thinking at some point taking that to the next level and doing like costuming and backdrops? And would you like to do that, or would you like to really just kind of narrow it down to just the choreography?
One day we will see. Maybe it might happen. It is definitely a dream of mine, but you never know what the future might hold.
Yeah, that's true. Do you find that you start with lyrics and then add music, or do you get kind of a melody in your head? I mean, personally, I find I write from all different angles, but what about you?
Definitely lyrics. Like I've had some nights where like it comes to me in a dream and I'm like I wake up at like 2 a.m. I'm like I need to write these lyrics down. I don't have a melody, I don't have anything, but these words are really cool together. Yeah, so it's mainly lyrics first and then it could be like a few weeks or months and I come back and then a melody might come into my head. But yeah.
Okay. And I think that's part of the beauty of it, right? Is that it's not like you have to just sit down and be in the zone and start and finish the song in one sitting. You can you can say, you know what, here's an idea. I'll get to it when it feels right. And when that inspiration hits, you go back to it and you continue it along.
Exactly. I have so many songs that I would love to go back to and make it even bigger than I already have.
Mhm. And you're getting to work in recording studios as opposed to kind of doing this all in a bedroom studio. Is that the first time that you did that, was that a little intimidating to go into like a professional recording studio and feel like, wow, I have to sing my song here in front of people?
Yeah, when I first did In My Way in lockdown with my producer, we went over to his like house slash studio, but yeah, it was pretty intimidating. I mean, the whole setup was really amazing and being in front of like a really expensive mic was really cool to experience. Yeah, definitely.
Now, I've never worked with a producer. I've worked with directors when I work on film, and that's a different type of conversation as far as what they want and what I need to change in the music. How do you like working with the producer? Is it a little difficult to hear, you need to take this chorus out, you need to add a bridge here, or is it like, okay?
I think that once we like kind of like have a connection with each other and the music is really vibing with all of us, I think it's more like it's very flow.
Mhm.
Like, okay, let's work with this or let's change that. I think also being a musician and a singer, you got to be on top of, what the producer wants and
Right.
to fix it in the moment. And
Mhm.
so, but then once it all comes together and you all enjoy what you make, I mean, that's the best thing about it.
Oh yeah. Do you find that the things that you learn in those production meetings, that as you go to write your next song, do you find that those have helped as your songwriting goes and grows to the next piece?
I think so. I mean, when I was younger, writing songs, like sure, like they came to me, but like now it's like I could write down like a full song, like verse, chorus, pre-chorus, whereas I used to like write like a verse and a chorus maybe, and then I would come back to it.
Mm.
But I think just the state of like repeatedly doing it as well,
Mhm.
having those moments of just sitting and really having anything flow to you in that just state of like being more focused, I think songwriting has become easier for me in a way.
Yeah. Well, and I think it should. I mean, it's hopefully you learn from everything that you do and you grow from that, and then you take that knowledge to the next thing, add what you learn from that and then take that to the next thing. That's really how it should work. It doesn't always, but because sometimes we tend to forget or we tend to overthink. Do you find that you just go with what you feel, or do you tend to like intellectualize it and say, well, technically I shouldn't do this, or technically I need to have that? Which brain do you tend to pull out when you're working on a song?
It just depends in the moment. Normally I'm like, okay, I have a verse and then I have like a chorus, but then should I add a bridge or should I add a pre-chorus? Like, sure, I have those moments, and then sometimes I have moments where I'm writing like one like verse and then I'm like, oh, wait, it's actually flowing to me. So then I get
Mm.
everything like from the beginning to end. So
Mhm.
it depends on the song and what I'm feeling in the moment and honestly like where I'm at in my life as well.
That's awesome. I really like that. I tend to find for myself that I'm pretty confident when I'm writing and when I'm recording, but when I go to mix it, I start second guessing everything I did in the song. I'm like, this song isn't even that good. Maybe I shouldn't put it on the album. You know, do you look back and do you have those moments of doubt and that kind of hold you back, or are you pretty confident when the song's done?
When I was listening to the song, I had so many like little things like with my speech even like I'm like, did I do enough S or did I do enough,
Oh.
more dynamics in my voice
Mhm.
or just little things, like but at the end of the day, it's like, well, this is what it's going to be, and I know it's going to sound great, and people are going to enjoy it. So I try not to nitpick too much, even though I am like an overachiever sometimes, and I
Mhm.
want everything to be perfect. But I just have to learn to let go and let the music speak for itself.
Oh, that is such a great thing to learn at a young age, let me tell you. Because if you can really talk yourself out of really good things, you can talk yourself out of a good solo or a good instrument layer or a good vocal take. because you get too much in your head or you're too worried about how it's going to sound or how it's going to come across, instead of being like, this is what I felt in that moment, and that's what should be portrayed in the song.
Right, exactly. It's been really hard to figure that out, but I mean, if I want that product to be out there, I mean, like, I just have to do what feels right in the moment.
Absolutely. How did you feel the first release? Like the first time you said, okay, I've got all the information typed in, I'm ready to finalize this. Was it hard to hit that send button?
Oh gosh, actually, my dad helped me with that because I didn't really know how to use it, but
Mhm.
I was really excited when I saw that my song was going to be released. I was like what? Like I have a song out? It says my name on it? Like this is lyrics I wrote? Like
Mhm.
I was really excited. And I mean, honestly, when I was younger, I believe I put out my first song when I was a freshman in high school.
Mhm.
At that time, I may have thought like people might be judgy towards it or they might like perceive me weird, but I was still very, very excited about it.
Good. I think every time I press that button, I get really excited, just in the hopes that people will hear it, that they'll enjoy something I created and spent all this time putting together. So when you released it and then you went back to school, were you like, hey, everybody check out my single? Or were you a little kind of nervous and shy about it?
Well, for this one, my newest one, I put posters in my music building
Nice.
because I was like, you guys, I worked so hard on this song. I love it. Like I put like a link to my Spotify. I mean, I was like, you guys, check this out. Or have you seen my poster? Of course. Like, and I love that about being a music major is that being around people who also create music, they enjoy supporting their peers.
Yeah.
So I think around this time, like it was just such a positive experience.
Good. I'm really glad to hear that, because that could be kind of a little bit nerve wracking at times,
Oh,
you know?
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, even just hitting send, even just getting to the point where you're like, okay, you go through, it's because it's a fairly tedious process of uploading all the information, doing the descriptions, the album art and all that. And then, when you go to hit that button, you're like, wait a minute, is this really good enough? And if you're not getting that, if you're that confident in your music, you are way ahead, my friend.
Yeah, and actually around this time, for this song, I did have a little bit of struggle to put it out.
Really?
So I connected to CD Baby, and then once something like everything else was fine, like they were like, "Oh, on my side it's fine," and then it was Spotify who had a struggle, and then I had to
Really?
fix a couple things, and then it got pushed out. So yeah,
Huh.
it technically got released like a few days after, but yeah, I've never had that happen. I just like before I just put it out and that was it. So now this time I did have a little struggle, but I mean now it's
Interesting.
out, so
Yeah, yeah, no, obviously, yeah. No, that's weird. I only had one like that. It was an album where it was all piano music, and I didn't want the titles to color the expectation of the listener. So everything was like Piano Romance number one, Piano Romance number two. I'm like, hey, they could do this in classical music. I can do it, right? And CD Baby came back to me and said that I think it was Apple Music wouldn't release it that way, and that was their one of their bigger partners. And they said, so we can't do it if it doesn't hit the least standards. And I'm like, okay, but what's the difference between this and classical? They're like, we'll put opus numbers on everything. I'm like, but that doesn't mean anything. Like, it doesn't matter. We can't release it without that. And I said, all right, well then don't. I'll release it myself. And I did it on my Bandcamp page. But I was like, yeah, that's kind of a weird thing. But I was really adamant about, I don't want titles to color the listener experience at all. I want people to just close their eyes and feel whatever they're going to feel.
right, exactly. That's all that matters. At the
Mhm.
end of the day, it's what the listener perceives for your music and how they connect to it. I mean, you just want to show your story, but also have the listeners be able to have their own experience within your music. Yeah.
Absolutely. One thing I noticed about the three singles that you have out is that they've gotten increasingly longer as you've gotten more comfortable with songwriting. So the first one's 2 minutes, the second one's 3 minutes, and then the newest one is 4 minutes. So you're adding to each one. Are you just feeling more comfortable expanding the song a little bit more, or do you finding that you have more to say?
I think my first song, it was just like a demo. I wasn't really sure like exactly how long I should do it. And at the time I didn't have that many lyrics written for it. And then with lockdown, I just wanted it to be a simple, 3.5 minute. I had a lot of lyrics for it, so I thought it'd be good, just simple. And then my recent one, I know it's like 4 minutes and like 20 seconds, but I did add an extra verse, and I thought that really added to like the story almost that I was trying to tell. And I think it really ties into everything. I absolutely love how it came about.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, telling the story is such an important component, obviously, because if you don't understand the point of the song, you might find the music catchy, but you'll miss the message of it. And it's difficult sometimes because sometimes you just want to give the image. You want to let people shape it themselves, but give them enough to define it so that they know what you're talking about. And other times you might just want to be a little more abstract and let people kind of get their own feeling out of it.
Definitely. And with this song, I think adding my third verse, I think it just ties the whole song together,
Mhm.
and then it goes, back to the chorus at the end. So I really
Yeah.
love it.
I also find more confidence in your singing as they go along. Like the first one was pretty good, and then the second one I'm like, okay, I think she's more comfortable because she's done this before. And then by the third one, I'm like, yeah, you just like walked up there and did it.
Yeah, this third song, I worked so hard on trying to get my best vocals. I mean, I want my best performance. I'm so proud of this song that I wrote. I
Good.
mean, it has been in my journal for years, and I really wanted to put this out because I love the song. I mean, I think the lyrics are great, and I'm very proud of it. So I wanted it to sound as best as it could. And I think I did a great job with combining everything together. And I'm so grateful for everyone who helped me work on this song.
Excellent. Well, we're going to play the songs here in a minute, but you mentioned Elvis and then like 50s music in your influences. Do you kind of progress through a little pieces of all eras of music, or are there certain ones that really just keep your focus?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I love like the old jazz music. Some people that I'm listening to is Julie London right now. I actually think that I'm writing a couple songs that have her influence in it.
Okay.
Um, and then I have more pop, Adele, Lady Gaga. I have a couple songs like that. And then there's even like Ella Fitzgerald, Patsy Cline, and Pat Benatar. Like I do have
Wow.
a little rock pop song. So yeah, I think I take like everything from like what I've heard over the years and what my parents have also introduced me to when I was younger. So
Mhm.
I think everything combined really forms what I write today as well.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's just like I was saying with the experience. You have your first song, you have your first studio experience. By the time you get to your next one, you've got that experience. You take that with you, you add to it. It's the same thing with the influences. Whatever you start with, that's going to be your base, and then you're going to add things that you discover along the way. And it may be something that's newer in the timeline, or maybe something that's older that you hadn't heard yet. Like I grew up on Motown. That was a big thing in our house was Motown music. And I love it. I don't know how much of that shows in my music now, but it's definitely like a style that I'm rooted in.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. Like, I'm huge on 80s music. I
Mm.
love like disco and the pop back then, and I've written a couple songs that definitely sound like it could be an 80s song. Yeah, I
Nice.
just like having those influences and also like a broad range of musical genres that we all listen to because that will really influence us to write more differently than how we are normally.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And especially like whatever the particular thing that you're into at the moment. So if you just hear this new song and you can't get it out of your head and you're like, I want to write a song, there might be some influences of that in the new piece.
Oh yeah, I've had a couple songs that are very influenced by a couple artists that I've listened to.
I had that happen when I was listening to Please, Please, Please by Sabrina Carpenter. I'm like, I love that melody line so much. It feels really good. It's nice and smooth. It's gentle, but it's got an edge to it. I'm like, I really want to do something like that. And I don't do a lot of vocal stuff, so I didn't end up doing anything with it. But I'm like, one of these days, that's kind of something I want to, I'd like to play with a little bit because that's a pretty cool tool to have in the tool belt.
Oh yeah, just like put that in your little notebook and
Hmm.
maybe a year or two you'll come back to it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I want to go back to a little bit of the beginning, which your first song was In My Way. And I want to play a little bit of that and kind of give people a little taste of where you started and what you're all about.
Yeah, awesome.
I don't need anyone, tell me what I need. I'm just here for the fun, not to make a scene. Watch out, drifting all of our memories. Till I found out that you were an enemy. There you go lying, it hurt me inside when the secrets I told ya end up exposing ya. When I stopped trying, then I start crying.
I love how confident you sound. You really sound like somebody who's very comfortable behind a mic in a studio with headphones, being isolated, having people watch you. Uh, Really impressive for a first track.
Thank you so much. Yeah, like when I was in the studio, I was nervous, but I mean, it just comes from the root of my love of singing and my
Mhm.
love of music. And I thought, I mean, I have a chance to really put my song out, and I just thought, why not go for it?
Well, and you've got some really good power in your voice. It's not like and this is that confidence part I'm talking about. You're not laying back. You're not timid. You're not like, I'm going to sing and maybe you can get me on the mic. You're like, I'm here to sing. And I really like that.
Thank you.
Plus, it's a very dynamic song, and I can definitely hear that 70s guitar influence in there with the wah pedal. That adds a really nice flavor to the music.
Yeah, the producer who worked on that, he did that, and I thought it was so cool. I mean, I didn't really come up with that, but again, like the creative process of working with other people, I mean, they bring in ideas that really can make the song so strong.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of why you want to work with a producer. You want to say, where are the holes in the song? Where is there too much? Am I missing something? Do we need to add anything or remove anything? And that's what a producer's there to do. And I mean, the mix too, very good, very good. Everything's clean. I can hear it all without any like having to strain to hear any of the instruments. Is very well done. Was he also the engineer?
Yes, he
Okay.
was.
Yeah. So obviously he's very experienced and that's good because you don't want to go with somebody who doesn't know what they're doing when you're first starting out.
Right. Yeah, I had a really great experience with doing my first two songs with him. It was
Mhm.
really fun.
Yeah. So this was what 2016. You said you were a freshman in high school. So you're what about 14 or so when you did this?
I believe so, 13 or 14, yeah.
Yeah. God, that's impressive for that
Thank you.
age. At 13, I was a drummer, but I didn't know anything about songwriting. I was a lyricist, like I would write a lot of lyrics and poems and stuff like that, but as far as putting them to music, no clue. No clue. And really no desire at that point. So that's very impressive where you were at already at that age.
Thank you. I think the all the years of taking music lessons and
Mhm.
really learning what music is and doing music theory as well,
Yeah.
that all helps with finding that melody for my music.
Mhm. Definitely. And you've got good power in your voice at that age too. It's not like you're um you know what I mean? I don't know how much work you had to do in the studio, but you sound really powerful and clean, and it's a great vocal take.
Thank you so much. I actually started when I was a little bit younger, I started doing opera like in middle
Oh,
school and high
wow.
school. So I think that definitely comes from doing opera a lot,
Mhm.
um like classical and romantic music. That power really comes from there as well.
Yeah, I would say if you want to learn how to be a really really good drummer, play old country music where it's just playing like you're basically a metronome. You will learn how to be a solid metronome drummer by doing that. If you want to learn how to be a really good singer, opera is definitely a great place to start.
Oh, definitely. I mean, at first when I sang opera, I was intimidated. I was like, this is hard. But
Yeah.
then learning all these different opera songs and even watching other opera singers on YouTube, I mean, that has great power and great technique in it. And bringing that to pop music is also just as fun, and you can really get a great sound.
Absolutely. I find I have a great appreciation for opera. I don't enjoy opera, but I can appreciate the effort and the work that goes into it, but I rarely like, I really want to hear Don Giovanni today. Is
I totally
is that something that you were a fan of before you started getting into it, or was that just purely to better yourself as a singer?
I think I mainly sang that just to learn more music. I mean, I sang Italian, German, and French songs,
Oh.
and then I also did Broadway, um, just for a music test.
Hmm.
But I think now that I'm also older and I'm in college and I'm still learning a couple different like Italian or German songs, I think that also really helped me with the power that I have now in my pop songs. It's
Yeah.
not truly that different.
Hmm.
Um, it's just more of like different techniques and different like word shaping with all these different
But those
um
are the kind of techniques that can help you sustain a long-term career versus somebody who really doesn't know how to use their voice and they're just using power all the time and then they burn out their voice.
Yeah, definitely. It's a skill that takes years to learn how to manage vocal health as well.
Hmm.
And then going from singing opera to pop or jazz, it's definitely takes a little turn, but having that foundation has been so helpful for me.
Sure. I'm curious, do you have like a ritual, anything that you do before you start singing like hot tea with lemon or anything like that?
I kind of do. I make sure to stay hydrated.
Yeah.
Number one, definitely. I drink water, hot tea, and then I warm up my voice really well.
Good.
And another thing that is also good is warming up the body. Just stretching, arm stretches, really relaxing the lower back. And yeah, warming up is definitely number one key for me.
Good.
But then once you're warmed up and stuff, then you can do anything.
Sure.
So
But that I'm really glad that you do that because if you're looking at doing this for a living for the rest of your life, then you have to be able to sustain that health wise. And if you're taking care of yourself now and that's your regimen, then you have a really good chance at a long sustained ability to continue to do it. And I think as young people, and I'm certainly guilty of this, I'm not calling anyone out. We tend to think we're kind of invincible and we just like, okay, let's just do the thing. Like, I don't want to invest in it, like time or whatever. Let's just go do it. And then you do injure yourself or you burn out at an early age. So I'm really glad that you're approaching this with such intelligence and dedication.
thank you. Yeah, I'm actually taking a couple classes right now at my college that talks about vocal health and
Great.
what to do. And I did know this stuff, but now I'm getting more deeper into this knowledge, and it has already made a difference for me in my singing.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. Well, let's move from 2016 to 2018 and check out a little bit of your song called Lockdown. Now, if I remember right, this is before COVID. So you came up with the title before we actually had a lockdown.
I know, yeah, it's very bizarre.
Mhm.
But yeah, I had a couple lyrics for this. I think I had the chorus kind of, and I had the couple of the first verses. Um yeah, it's really fun. I absolutely love this song too.
Excellent. Well, let's take a little bit of a listen to it.
Come walking through that door. So many times like you did before.
I am a sucker for a good groovy bass line. And I love the sound of the bass and I love the bass line on this.
Thank you. I think my producer actually came up with that. He was
Mhm.
just like grooving and figuring it out, and I loved it. And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
And I'm getting a little bit of that same kind of guitar style, that just full strumming kind of 70s feel, but not as much. It feels a little more modern in this song, but that same concept.
Definitely, my vibe for this song was kind of like still kind of like disco pop, but definitely still during like this age now.
Mhm. Now, it does sound like in what we're hearing here, and I know that you bring out a little bit more power later on in the song, but it feels like you're intentionally being a little reserved on the vocal here. Is that hard to do, to kind of like dial it back when you're used to being able to sing with power?
I think I just have to remind myself of the dynamics for the song.
Mhm.
Like, especially learning theory, like thinking, okay, this one is more like, mezzo forte, kind of like very simmer down, but then like later on in the chorus, like it'll build up to like more forte.
Mhm.
So thinking about that as well, thinking about how the flow of the song will be with dynamics and the rhythm and everything, that has helped me with my singing as well.
Yeah, and you definitely sound stronger. I feel a growth. I think between the first song and this song, and I mean we are talking a couple years apart in very developmental years physically, but I feel like you've progressed as a songwriter, you've progressed as a vocalist. You sound good and confident, but stronger.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's all about confidence, truly. When I was like, I want to put this song out,
Mhm.
it made me feel like I can really do this. Like now, like I have a song out and I want to do more songs, so I think I should work harder on this and make it the best it can be.
I like that. Do you have you identified things that even right now, and we haven't played the new song yet, but have you identified things even right now? You're like, okay, I know I need to work on this, or I know I want to improve on that. Are there things that you're kind of focused on right now?
For me right now, I believe just putting a little bit more emotion in my vocals.
Hmm.
I mean, I definitely have emotion, but maybe having it a little different in the verse versus the chorus versus the bridge.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's good. And that's again natural songwriting progression. You have to learn the construction of it, then you start improving on little bits here and there, and eventually you'll just be like, I feel like a really confident songwriter right now.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
then you'll listen back to it and go, I don't know what I'm doing. And then you go, but release it anyway. Well, I want to, so now we're going to move to 2025. So now we're talking a difference of like 7 years since your second song and your third song. Obviously, COVID probably had a big impact on that. Did you find it difficult to get people together after COVID to work with you, just because of physical proximity in that?
I believe during COVID, I was more focused on getting my degree. During that time, I was doing so much on Zoom. I had like 7 classes in one semester, 8 classes another
Wow.
semester. So I didn't have much time to really do my creative side of who I am.
Mhm.
But yeah, the whole part of getting people together to make this song was kind of hard because I didn't have a much money.
Mhm.
So I had to have my friends help me out.
Sure.
And coordinating our schedules and everything, that was difficult, but once we got together, I mean, the magic really happened.
And I think that can be an advantage too sometimes, because when you can't do something you want to for a while, you're hungrier to do it. If
Definitely.
if you're doing it every day, yes, you enjoy it, and you'll have those days where you're like really energetic, and you'll have those days where you're like, yeah, I should work on some music. But if you've like not been able to do it for a long time, you're just like, yeah, let me at it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I even have a song right now where I'm like, oh, I really want to work on this more, but I'm so busy with like school or work. So
Mhm. Yep, understandable. Well, it'll get there. I feel confident that you'll get it done. I want to take a listen to your newest one now. I want to talk to you about the title first, because this is called "Nothing in My Head." And then the subtitle is Except You, which I really like. That's pretty cool. I like when people do that because it shapes the song. If you just said Nothing in My Head, that could really lead to the wrong impression of what this song might be about.
Right. While we were doing that song, I wrote this at Grammy Museum back in 2018, and during that time we were like, okay, let's try to write a song. And we were like thinking of different ideas. We're like, no, that might not work, you know. And then I was like, man, like we have nothing in our head. Like we can't think. I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. That would work for a song. So then we created on top of that. And we said, like, do we want this to be more like a love song? Do we want it to be like just like a more general song? But I think it definitely turned into a little bit of a love song. And that Except You part, really funny because we just added that at the end of the chorus. We're like, we should add that to the title as well. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Nothing in My Head could be I'm just laying here looking at the sky, or I'm daydreaming, or it could be like I don't want to think about anything because my brain is just too overloaded. It could mean so many different things. But this, even with this title, doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic relationship. You could be thinking about a friend or a loved one or a dog or anything really, but it shows that you're 100% focused on whatever that subject is going to be.
Oh, 100%. I really want people to listen to the song with a special person in mind, whether it be a friend or a sibling or anyone who's special in their life, definitely.
Yeah. And I think you do a great job conveying that in the song. So let's take a listen to it. Here is Nothing in My Head Except You.
My marbles are tossing, my spring load has gotten rusty. I'm falling apart, I can't keep track the time. But I can't keep the beat, it's so splitting at the seams. Can't keep my eyes open, ain't slept for a week. I'm lying in bed, got nothing in my head. I'm lying in bed, got nothing in my head. I'm lying in bed, got nothing in my head except you.
One thing that I absolutely love about this track is that you have really grown as a vocalist. You know, comparing the last track to this one, you're singing on, and part of it is the song style too, but you're singing much more dynamically. You're hitting some beautiful pitches. It's really smooth and concise. It feels like you just walked up to the mic and sang it and said, "There's the take," and walked and went home.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Honestly, it took me a few tries because I wanted to convey the message and the emotion so much more powerful than my other song. Because I think these lyrics are very touching and powerful to me personally. So I thought I need to bring that into the song for the audience to feel. And I worked really hard on each take, trying to make sure my vocals sounded as best that they could.
Yeah, well, you definitely did. And I love the progression of it. The song just has a really good musical feel to it. It's simple, but there's just those little tidbits that are thrown in there that make me go, "Oh, that was a good choice. Oh, that was interesting. Oh, I'm glad they did that." You know, and that's what I like. I like to be able to listen to a song and hear different things in it, at least the first few times I hear it. And it's more complex than it comes across, I think.
Oh, definitely. Recording each part was very interesting to do because at first we did just guitar, then my vocals, and then we went on to bass, drums, and then we did piano.
Mm-hmm.
And I think layering each one was it just made it even better, because
Right.
at first I was like, should I add piano? Should I not? But actually my brother Sawyer is playing the piano, and
Oh.
he had those ideas of doing like the little and so I was like, I mean, I would love to add piano. I wasn't sure what to do.
Mhm.
So Sawyer really made that part come alive.
That's interesting. I didn't know he played piano.
And my dad played bass on there. So
Okay. I didn't know that either. That's cool. I think piano is one of those things that even if you just add it to add some thickness to the song, like you can just do like root note chords or just like a little low end to it. It doesn't even have to be melodic, but even just to thicken up a song can really add a lot. But I think this song feels pretty rich and full without having to do something like, big, deep chords or anything like that in the background. I think it's got a really good balance to it.
thank you. Yeah, I just set up my MIDI and I plugged it in and I was like, have at it. Let's see what we can. I played the song like over and over and I was like, no, I don't like that. Or can you add like maybe just a little bit of like some pictures here and there? And then, I mean, I think it worked out perfectly.
It did. I mean, there's just like little inflections of color that pop up here and there that really those are the things I think you need to make a song stand out. You have to have that good foundation. You have to have a good melody, but just throwing in those little tidbits can really make a song unique and memorable.
Oh, definitely, 100%. I think it makes the song more powerful and it feels more full overall.
I absolutely agree. Now, you said that you worked with a producer on the first two songs. Did you work with someone different on this one?
I did. Someone I know, and he was very supportive. I asked this of him. And we had a great communication stage, and I am very, very thankful for him. I truly am.
Good. That's good. I mean, having people that you can count on, but that can talk to you in a way that's positive is so important. If you work with people that are like, that's stupid, that doesn't belong in the song, why didn't you have this in there? It could be a very negative experience.
Definitely. And also, them taking your comments as well on the different drafts is also so important, because you really want to make sure that the artist and the producer have the same flow of ideas and that stable connection of what the song should really be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting too how different people can have the same job, but it's such an individual type thing that like if you worked with the producer you worked with before, this would be a completely different song.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I technically like produced and mixed it, and then I had a mastering engineer. So being the producer and everything was kind of difficult, because it's also like I'm judging my own vocals and then I'm judging everything else I recorded.
Yeah.
So that can be difficult. But then having a person to master it also brings in another perspective, and I'm really grateful for that too.
Oh yeah, and mastering is a whole other art on its own.
Oh, definitely. It's very different between mixing and mastering.
Yeah, I've actually developed kind of a new thing I'm working on where I do them both at the same time. So I'm mixing, but with my mastering plugins already on, so I can hear what the final. Because like I find it so much, I mix and then the mastering changes the sound of the mix so much that I'm like, that doesn't really work. Why don't I just mix it to the master, and then the master will sound the way I want it to sound? And then I'm like, oh well, I guess I mastered it while I was at it, so so now it's done.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, mixing process versus mastering process is very similar but different at the same time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
interesting.
well, mastering is more fine-tuned, and making sure that you're maximizing your volumes and minimizing your lows and giving the song that without killing the dynamics of it. Because if you're killing the dynamics, then there's no point in releasing the song, because you're taking all the feeling out of it.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I am really excited to hear your next project whenever it comes out. Please let me know.
I will. Yes, of course. Thank you.
Now, you guys that are listening, I've got all the links for her stuff, her socials, her links to get all the songs. I've got links for iTunes and Amazon in there. and also her Instagram and all that good stuff. So go check out her stuff. And most importantly, when you do, take a minute and just give her a rating. Even if it's just a star rating, if you want to do a review, that's great. But those star ratings really make a difference, especially for up and coming artists. They help get noticed. They help Amazon go, hey, they're getting a lot of attention. We need to maybe let people know it's out there. And that's how that kind of stuff happens. So please take a minute and at least give her a star rating. And Saylor, thank you so much for coming on the show. I can't wait to hear what you do next and follow your career, because I really like this stuff. And this is not music that's in my typical wheelhouse to listen to, but I find your stuff really enjoyable.
Thank you so much, Scott, for having me on here. I'm so appreciative that you reached out and I was able to come on here and talk about my music.
Me too. Well, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening. Check out Saylor stuff, and we'll see you guys. Can't remember if I have a review I'm doing this week or not, but either way, we'll be back on our regular Wednesday schedule with lots of cool stuff coming up. We'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.